At 1:07 in the morning, a police officer called to say he had found my missing 7-year-old grandson walking barefoot beside Route 9. I was standing beside that same child's bed, watching him sleep. Then the officer lowered his voice and said, "Mr. Hargrove, the boy here just asked me to tell Grandpa Dan that Megan's second baby finally found the other house. Megan was my dead daughter. Only Megan and Tyler called me Grandpa Dan. Please, before we continue, make sure to subscribe to the channel and let us know in the comments where you are listening from today. My name is Daniel Hargrove. I was 58, widowed, and raising my grandson Tyler after Megan's death." I pressed the phone against my ear and stared at the dinosaur blanket rising and falling over his chest. "Officer, Tyler is here. He has never been missing." The man identified himself as Officer Mateo Reyes of the Fairview County Sheriff's Department. He did not sound confused. He sounded frightened by how certain we both were. "The boy matches a missing child report filed 11 months ago," he said. 7 years old, brown hair, gray eyes, and a crescent-shaped burn scar on his left forearm. My gaze moved to Tyler's arm resting above the blanket, the same pale crescent curved below his elbow, left by a hot baking tray when he was 4. "That description belongs to my grandson." "I believe you," Reyes said. "That is the problem. The boy carried crackers, a toy car, and a photograph of Megan at 17-1 I had taken and believed only our family possessed. Where did he get that picture?" I asked. "He says his grandmother kept it hidden in a Bible." My mouth went dry. Craig's mother, Diane, had barely spoken to us since Megan died. "What is the boy's name?" Another pause. "He first told us Caleb. But when we entered his information, he insisted his real name was Tyler Hargrove." "That's impossible. He also gave us your address. Everything in Tyler's room told me I knew who he was." Yet another child knew my daughter, my nickname, my address, and the phrase Megan's second baby. Reyes put Caleb on the phone. His voice carried the same break as Tyler's. "Grandma Diane said Megan was the mother who couldn't keep both," he whispered. Then he pleaded, "Please don't send me back. I tried to be good." That was not the fear of a child having an adventure. He believed safety had to be earned. Reyes took the phone again. "Mr. Hargrove, we need you at the station. Bring Tyler and any identification you have for him. Do not contact Diane or Craig. Is Caleb hurt?" "No serious injuries, but he is underweight, and he has bruising we need documented. For 2 years, I thought losing Megan was our family's greatest tragedy. Now another child was sitting under police lights with her photograph, begging not to be returned." I woke Tyler gently and told him we needed to take a drive. "Did something happen?" he asked. "I don't know yet." He studied my face with the intuition children develop after losing a parent. "Is it about Mom?" I could not lie. "I think so." He wrapped himself in the dinosaur blanket Megan had bought before she died and followed me to the car. Before leaving, Reyes sent a photograph. A thin boy sat at the station with Tyler's eyes, Tyler's mouth, and Megan's expression whenever she tried not to cry. I looked from the screen to the grandson in my back seat. For 7 years, I had believed Megan left one child behind. That night, I understood that someone in our family had not merely hidden a secret. They had hidden a human being. Tyler fell asleep during the drive, wrapped in Megan's dinosaur blanket. I kept comparing his reflection with Caleb's photograph. Resemblance could be coincidence. The matching scar, Megan's picture, and the word second baby could not. At Fairview County Station, the desk officer saw Tyler and dropped her pen. Reyes led us to a waiting room, where a thin boy sat holding a paper cup. His hair was uneven, his sweatshirt swallowed his shoulders, and his shoes were too large. But his face stopped me cold. It was Tyler's face after hunger had sharpened it and fear had taught it not to hope. Tyler opened his eyes and looked across the room. Caleb froze. Then Tyler touched his cheek. "Grandpa, why is that boy wearing my face?" Caleb whispered, "You're the other house." I set Tyler opposite him and knelt between them. Up close, the truth was worse. The same gray eyes, the same ears, even the crescent scar on the same forearm. "Where did you get yours?" I asked Caleb. He covered it. Grandma said I touched the hot pan because I never listen. Tyler blinked. I got mine baking cookies with Mom. At the word Mom, Caleb looked down. Reyes took me into an interview room, while a child advocate stayed with them. Through the glass, I watched Tyler offer Caleb crackers. Caleb ate one and hid the rest in his pocket. How long has he lived like this? I asked. Reyes opened a file. He was found after midnight without a coat or socks. He has bruising on his arm and says he ran when his guardian became angry. Then why did you call him Tyler? His missing person record uses Tyler Hargrove's birth date and Megan's name. But he calls himself Caleb Doyle. Reyes turned the laptop toward me. Someone had built Caleb's identity from pieces of Tyler's life. His mother was listed as Megan Hargrove, his father as Craig Doyle, and his guardian as Diane Doyle. My throat tightened. Craig's mother? You know her? She stood beside me at Megan's funeral. She watched me take Tyler home and never said he had a brother. Reyes opened a placement form. It had no court seal, case number, or verified consent from Megan, only a copied signature and the name of an attorney later suspended for falsifying adoption records. This may never have been legal, he said. Through the glass, Tyler placed his arm beside Caleb's, comparing their scars. Caleb watched him like a child, discovering that somewhere another version of him had been loved. Let me take him home, I said. Not until child protection authorizes it and we prove who he is. Look at them. You already know. Knowing is not proving. A technician collected cheek swabs. Caleb recoiled, so Tyler opened his mouth first. See? It doesn't hurt. Caleb copied him. 2 hours later, the preliminary result erased the last doubt. The boys were identical twins. Caleb approached me as I stared at the report. Are you really Grandpa Dan? Yes. Did you know about me? 7 years of abandonment lived inside that question. No, I said. But I know now, and I'm not leaving you here. His eyes filled, but he refused to cry. Are you going to call Grandma Diane? Behind him, Reyes lifted his phone. Yes. And this time, she's going to explain why her name is on a secret guardianship file for Megan's missing son. While Reyes waited for Diane to answer, I watched the boys through the glass and felt the past reopen. Megan was 26 when she became pregnant. Craig promised marriage and a future, but promises were all he provided. He vanished for days, returned with apologies, and left Megan paying every bill. During her 7th month, she came home carrying one suitcase. Dad, I made a mistake, but my baby didn't. I prepared the room beside mine, assembled one crib, and painted one name above it, Tyler. No doctor had mentioned twins. Megan never did either. After the delivery, she was pale, weak, and frightened. She kept touching her stomach and crying, but a nurse blamed the medication. Diane stood near the window, answering questions before Megan could speak. The baby is healthy, she repeated. That is all that matters. Megan developed an infection and spent 12 days in intensive care. She came home with Tyler but never recovered. For 18 months, she fought to become the mother she wanted to be. She sang when pain kept her awake, wrote notes for birthdays she feared she might miss, and made me promise Tyler would never feel unwanted. The night she died, her last clear words were, "Dad, don't let them take my baby." I thought she meant Craig. Now I wondered if she had said baby or babies. Tyler was 18 months old when I became his guardian. Craig signed the papers without reading them and left before the ink dried. Diane hugged Tyler at the funeral, then handed him back like he belonged to someone else. She stopped visiting after 2 years, claiming Megan's face hurt too much to see. I never questioned it. I was learning to raise a grieving child while carrying grief of my own. I retired early, traded business trips for school pickups, and turned every note Megan left into a promise. Tyler knew her through photographs, recipes, and bedtime stories. Looking at Caleb, I realized another child had grown up without any of it. No pictures, no dinosaur blanket, no one telling him Megan had loved him. Caleb looked toward the glass, holding the hidden crackers in one hand and Tyler's fingers in the other. My phone vibrated. Reyes checked the screen. Diane won't answer. But Craig called the station. He says you're confused and Caleb has no connection to Megan. The DNA says otherwise. He knows, I told him. Then why is he lying? Reyes placed Megan's hospital discharge summary before me. One sentence had been blacked out in the copy given to me 7 years earlier. Here the words were clear. Patient delivered twin males. Beneath them, another note read, Infant B, released to paternal family representative. My hands shook. Who authorized that? Reyes turned the page. The signature carried Megan's name, but the handwriting was not hers. I had seen that careful, slanted script on every birthday card Diane had ever sent Tyler. Reyes enlarged the signature until Diane's careful loops filled the screen. I wanted to deny it, but I had a drawer full of her cards at home. Find everyone who worked that delivery, I said. By sunrise, Detective Lena Morris, from the Family Crimes Unit, had joined us. Hospital archives showed 2 identification bands issued under Megan's patient number. Tyler was baby A, Caleb was baby B. Both were healthy, yet 6 hours after birth, Caleb's band was canceled and his chart was restricted. Who can do that? I asked. A judge, child services, or hospital counsel? Morris answered. None of them did. The request came from Everett Shaw, the suspended attorney on the placement form. Shaw claimed Megan had voluntarily surrendered one twin to Craig's family. But the form was signed at 3:42 that afternoon, while Megan was under general anesthesia in emergency surgery. She couldn't have signed it. No. And your name was removed as her emergency contact 12 minutes before Caleb was transferred. They had not forgotten to call me. They had erased the one person who would have stopped them. Craig arrived after 7, wearing yesterday's shirt and a rehearsed expression of concern. He refused to enter the waiting room after seeing the boys. My mother helped a child whose parents abandoned him, he told Morris. His mother was Megan, I said. That hasn't been established. I placed the DNA result before him. Now it has. His face paled, but he still would not look at Caleb. When Morris asked if he had signed the transfer, Craig demanded a lawyer. Tyler stepped into the hallway. Are you my dad? Craig stared at him like Tyler had trapped him. Go back inside. Caleb appeared behind his brother. Is he my dad too? Craig stepped backward. That movement answered more than a confession. Caleb's shoulders folded inward, but Tyler took his hand. You don't have to talk to him, he said. Grandpa talks to me. I had never been prouder of Tyler or more ashamed of the man who created him. Morris then found a financial disclosure from Shaw's disciplinary case. 3 days before the birth, Diane withdrew $40,000. The same amount entered Shaw's trust account the next morning. Another file showed Diane applying for a school discount for a dependent named Caleb 2 weeks before the twins were born. She named him before Megan entered the hospital, I whispered. This was no desperate decision after a difficult delivery. Diane had selected a child, paid an attorney, and prepared a false identity in advance. Child Protection called. Caleb could remain at the station until an emergency hearing that afternoon, but Diane had been notified and was demanding his return. She claims she is his lawful guardian, Reyes said. Morris closed the file. Then she can bring the original court order. A message appeared on Craig's phone. He read it and whispered, Mom says you should have left this buried. I moved close enough that he could not avoid my eyes. Tell your mother to bring a shovel, I said, because today we're digging up everything. Before the hearing, Morris gave me 1 hour to find samples of Diane's handwriting. Caleb panicked when I reached for my coat. You said you weren't leaving me. I knelt before him. I'll be back before that clock reaches 12. He studied my face. People say that when they don't want you to cry. I fastened my watch around his wrist. Keep this until I return. At home, I opened the cedar box containing Megan's papers. Diane's birthday cards lay beneath photographs and bills, but another envelope caught my attention. In Megan's handwriting, it read, For Tyler, when he is old enough. I had promised not to open it before his 18th birthday. That promise mattered less now than finding the child she had lost. Inside were several pages and a digital recorder. Megan wrote about waking after surgery and hearing 2 babies crying. A nurse claimed the second cry came from another room, but Megan remembered a doctor saying, Both boys are stable. Whenever she asked Craig if she had delivered twins, He said the anesthesia had confused her. Diane called it a grief reaction and asked the hospital to limit Megan's questions. One sentence blurred beneath my tears. If there was another baby, I did not give him away. I would never choose one child over the other. The recorder contained a message made 3 weeks before Megan died. Her voice was weak but clear. Dad, I think they took someone from me. Craig gets angry whenever I mention the second crib. Diane says I should be grateful for the son I have. Please don't think I'm losing my mind. If I'm right, find him. Tell both my boys I wanted them. I sat on the floor as guilt crushed the air from my lungs. Megan had tried to tell me. I had mistaken her fear for illness because people I trusted taught me to doubt her. The recording was made 6 days before Diane's last visit. Diane had brought soup and offered to organize Megan's documents. The next morning, Megan's notebook, phone, and hospital folder were gone. I had blamed the confusion of hospice care. Now I knew someone had removed the evidence. I returned 11 minutes before 12. Caleb checked the clock, then gave back my watch. I told you, I said. You came back, he replied, sounding surprised. Morris listened to the recording and sealed Megan's letter in an evidence bag. This proves she denied consenting, but Diane will call her confused. Then let Diane hear her voice. Reyes entered carrying newly recovered hospital footage. The grainy video showed Diane leaving the maternity floor on the night of the birth with an infant carrier beneath a blue blanket. Everett Shaw walked beside her. Craig followed 3 steps behind them, holding Megan's identification bracelet in his hand. The emergency hearing began at 2, in a small family courtroom. Diane arrived in a cream suit with a leather folder, looking inconvenienced by everyone else's panic. When she saw Caleb beside Tyler, her confidence cracked. Come here, she ordered. Caleb pressed closer to me. Judge Elena Ward raised her hand. You will not address the child without permission. Diane's attorney claimed Megan had chosen Diane to raise one twin because I was too old and Craig was unprepared. Diane displayed birthday photographs of Caleb. I have loved him for 7 years. Daniel is trying to take him because grief has made him unstable. Morris placed the DNA result, forged form, hospital records, and security footage before the judge. Diane dismissed everything. The signature could have been completed earlier. The timestamp could be wrong. The carrier might have been empty. Then Morris played Megan's recording. My daughter's voice filled the room. If I'm right, find him. Tell both my boys I wanted them. Diane stopped breathing. She was delirious, she said. She was dying. She recorded this 18 months before her death, Morris answered. The judge demanded Diane's original custody order. Diane shuffled 3 pages, then admitted she had only a certified copy. Its certification number belonged to a property dispute. Did Megan sign the surrender in your presence? Judge Ward asked. Yes. At 3:42 p.m.? Approximately. Morris produced the surgical log showing Megan unconscious at that time. Diane looked toward Craig, but he avoided her eyes. Your son has requested immunity for a statement, Morris said. It was a bluff, but Diane believed it. You coward, she snapped. Mom, stop, Craig whispered. After everything I did for you? You said 2 babies would ruin your life. You begged me to fix it. Craig shook his head. I never told you to steal one. I saved him. Megan had no money, you had no spine, and Daniel controlled everything. 2 children would have tied you to that family forever. The judge ordered her to sit, but the truth kept pouring out. Craig had revealed the twins after an ultrasound Megan hid from me because she feared I would confront him. Diane paid Shaw and arranged to take baby B while Megan was sedated. She chose Caleb because Craig wanted Tyler's name preserved for the child Megan would keep. Why hide him? I asked. Because you would have taken both, Diane said. You had the house, the money, the reputation. I would have had nothing. So Caleb was something you wanted to own? He was supposed to love me. A small voice came from behind the advocate. I tried. Caleb stood trembling. I tried to love you enough so you wouldn't get angry, but you said I had the wrong face. You said when I cried, I sounded like her. Diane's face went blank. He is confused. No, Tyler said, standing beside his brother. He remembers. Judge Ward ordered Diane to have no contact with Caleb pending the investigation. Temporary placement would be decided after separate interviews. As officers approached, Diane leaned toward me. "You think you rescued him? Ask why he ran now. Ask what Craig planned when he found him." Morris stepped closer. "What did Craig plan?" Diane smiled at her son with sudden cruelty. "He was going to make sure Caleb disappeared before anyone learned there were two." Morris detained Craig before he reached the elevator. He said Diane was punishing him, but Caleb's interview told another story. 3 nights earlier, Caleb heard them arguing downstairs. Daniel requested Tyler's school records, Diane said. "He'll notice the duplicate birth date," Craig answered. "Then Caleb can't be here when questions start." He had rented a cabin under a false name near the Canadian border. They would call it a trip, destroy Caleb's documents, and give him a new identity. When Diane worried he might talk, Craig replied, "He won't have anyone to talk to." The next morning, Caleb searched Craig's coat and found cash, a map, and a photograph of Tyler outside my house. My address was written on the back. That was how he discovered the other house. Diane caught him with the photograph, struck his arm, locked him upstairs, and said they would leave before sunrise. After she slept, Caleb climbed through the bathroom window and walked toward the highway without a coat. He was trying to reach me when police found him. "Why did you use Tyler's name?" Morris asked. "Grandma said Caleb wasn't real," he whispered. "She said Tyler had papers." Craig called the story a frightened child's fantasy. Then Reyes placed the map, recovered from Craig's car, on the table. My address and the cabin were circled in red. Beside the border route, Craig had written, "New records after crossing." Officers searched his phone and found messages to a document forger. One read, 7-year-old male, no birth certificate, need a clean name by Friday. Another message to Diane said, "Once he is gone, Daniel can suspect anything. Suspicion is not proof." I faced Craig. "You knew Caleb was your son. You let your mother hurt him, and when the truth got close, you planned to erase him again. I was trying to protect Tyler. You abandoned Tyler before he could remember your face." Craig's composure broke. "You took everything. Megan trusted you, Tyler loved you, and my mother blamed me. Caleb was the one thing she controlled. I couldn't let him destroy what I had left. He is not a thing." Craig glanced toward the room where the boys waited. Shame appeared briefly. Then he asked whether cooperating would reduce his charges. I finally understood that he would sacrifice anyone to save himself. Morris arrested him for conspiracy, child endangerment, identity fraud, and obstruction. Caleb watched through the glass as Craig was taken away. Is he coming back for me? Not without going through me. Judge Ward reconvened and granted me emergency custody of Caleb for 30 days. Before signing, however, she warned that Diane's attorney had challenged my fitness, claiming I concealed Megan's mental illness and manipulated both boys. The final custody battle had only begun. Caleb stared at the order, then slipped his hand into mine. "If she wins," he whispered, "do I have to disappear again?" On the drive home, Caleb sat rigidly beside Tyler, gripping his seatbelt as if someone might order him out. At the house, he stared at the blue door from Craig's photograph. "This is real," he whispered. Tyler pointed upstairs. "Our room is this way." I had prepared the guest room, but Tyler had placed a second pillow on his floor. Caleb stared at the books, photographs, and wooden letters spelling Tyler's name. "Where is mine?" Tyler looked stricken. "We didn't know you were coming." Caleb nodded as if that proved he did not belong. Tyler removed the wooden T and gave it to him. "We'll buy your letters tomorrow. Tonight, this stands for twin." At 3 in the morning, I found Caleb hiding bread inside his sweatshirt. I wasn't stealing. Food here belongs to everyone, even when I'm bad, especially when you're hungry. He watched me leave the loaf within reach, suspicious of kindness that demanded nothing. The next morning, the boys discovered they both hated bananas, slept with one foot outside the blanket, and tapped pencils 3 times before writing. But their differences hurt. Tyler talked freely about Megan. Caleb flinched when he called her mom. In a birthday video, Megan appeared singing beside a cake. "Did she know about me?" Caleb asked. She suspected. She spent the rest of her life trying to make us hear her. He turned away. Then I was missing, and nobody found me. Tyler sat beside him. I didn't know I was supposed to look. You were babies, I said. None of this was your fault. Caleb began crying without sound. Tyler held him, and after a moment, Caleb held on. Court-appointed therapist Dr. Hannah Price visited that afternoon. Diane's attorney expected Caleb to reject our home. Instead, Dr. Price watched him split a granola bar precisely in half with Tyler. She asked each boy separately where he felt safest. Tyler answered, "With Grandpa." Caleb said, "Where Tyler can see me." That night, a storm cut the power. Caleb woke, screaming that Diane had found him. Before I reached the room, Tyler switched on a flashlight. "She can't take you." Grandpa came back when he promised. Caleb looked at my watch beside his pillow, and his breathing slowed. "Doctor?" Price later wrote that separating the twins could deepen Caleb's trauma, and that their bond was his strongest source of security. It was the first professional opinion supporting permanent placement. The next morning, however, Morris called. Diane had submitted a video recorded 2 years earlier. In it, Caleb said he hated Tyler and wished his brother had never existed. She planned to play it at the final hearing. When I told Caleb, his face went white. "She made me say it," he whispered. "And if the judge sees the rest, everyone will know what she did after I refused." The final hearing opened 4 weeks later. Diane sat in a gray jail uniform, charged but not yet convicted. Craig had accepted a plea agreement, though I no longer trusted any truth that benefited him. Diane's attorney began with the video. Caleb appeared on a couch, staring into the camera. "I hate Tyler. I wish he never existed. Grandma is my only family." The attorney paused it. "This child feared replacement long before Daniel entered his life." Caleb squeezed my hand beneath the table. Judge Ward asked whether the recording was complete. Morris stood. "It is the only part Mrs. Doyle wanted you to see." A technician had recovered deleted footage from Diane's tablet. The video continued. Diane stepped into view. "That sounded weak. Say it again like you mean it." Caleb began crying. "I don't hate him. I don't know him." Diane grabbed his chin. "You hate whoever I tell you to hate. If Daniel finds you, he'll choose Tyler, because Tyler is the good one." Caleb refused to repeat it. Diane dragged him away, while the camera recorded his cries from the hallway. No one spoke when the screen went dark. Judge Ward denied Diane's claim and admitted the footage into her criminal case. Craig testified that his mother designed the plan, but Morris displayed his messages about the cabin and false documents. "You had 7 years to speak," the judge said. "Instead, you abandoned one son and tried to erase the other." Craig lowered his head. "I was afraid of my mother," Caleb whispered. "So was I. But I ran." Dr. Price, Tyler's teacher, child protection, and the officer who found Caleb described the same pattern. Fear under Diane, stability with me, and a bond between the boys that strengthened daily. Then I testified. Diane's lawyer accused me of ignoring Megan and asked why the court should trust me now. "It should not ignore my failure," I answered. Megan spoke, and I let others convince me she was confused. I will regret that forever. But Caleb is not a debt I can repay. He is my grandson. I'm asking to love him without making him earn his place. Judge Ward interviewed the boys privately. When they returned, Caleb's eyes were red, but Tyler held his hand. The judge ruled the fraudulent transfer had never created lawful custody. Craig's parental rights remained suspended, and Diane was barred from contacting either child. Permanent guardianship of both boys was granted to me. Caleb did not react until the judge said, "You will go home together." His knees gave way, and I caught him. "Is permanent longer than 30 days? Much longer. Longer than 7 years? As long as you want me." He buried his face against my chest, while Tyler embraced us both. Across the room, Diane watched the family she had divided become whole without her. As deputies led her away, she called Caleb's name. He lifted his head but did not turn around. 6 months later, Diane pleaded guilty to unlawful custody transfer, identity fraud, evidence tampering, and child abuse. She received 8 years in prison. Everett Shaw received 5 and lost his law license. After cooperating, Craig was sentenced to 18 months. He sent the boys 3 letters. Tyler returned his unopened. Caleb kept his for a week, then asked me to burn it. I don't want his apology living in my room. I did not tell him forgiveness was necessary. Some wounds need safety before mercy. Caleb began therapy twice a week. At first, he slept with food beneath his pillow, asked permission to use the bathroom, and apologized for laughing too loudly. I always answered, "You never have to earn the right to exist here." Slowly, the bread disappeared from beneath his pillow. He stopped checking the locks before breakfast. The first time he left half a sandwich, Tyler ran into my office shouting, "Grandpa, Caleb believes there will be more food tomorrow." We celebrated with ice cream, though neither boy understood why I cried. Their room held 2 beds beneath 2 names, Tyler and Caleb. Megan's photograph hung between them. Caleb once turned it toward the wall because looking at her hurt. One evening, I found him telling her about school. I got an A in science, Tyler got a B, but I helped him. Tyler protested, and Caleb laughed a careless laugh that filled the house. On their 8th birthday, we baked Megan's chocolate cake. Caleb hesitated near the hot pan, so Tyler put on oven mitts. We do this part together. They carried it to the table, 1 on each side. Before blowing out the candles, Caleb asked whether wishes worked for things that had already happened. Sometimes, if the wish is about what happens next. Later, I found 2 notes beside Megan's picture. Tyler's read, "I wish Mom could see both of us." Caleb's read, "I wish she knows I found them." I placed Megan's recorder between the notes and understood that her last request had been fulfilled. She had not asked me to destroy Craig or punish Diane. She asked me to find her child and tell both boys they were wanted. The following spring, the court corrected Caleb's birth certificate. It finally carried his real mother's name and birth date. When the clerk asked what surname he wanted, Caleb looked at Tyler, then me. Hargrove, because that's the name of the people who came back. Outside, he took my hand without checking who was watching. "Grandpa, am I still the missing boy?" I knelt before him. "No. You're the boy who found his way home." Tyler wrapped an arm around his brother. As they raced toward the car, their voices became impossible to tell apart. For years, one voice had been hidden and the other incomplete. Now both filled my life. The truth could not return Caleb's stolen years or give Megan the time she deserved. But it ended the lie. Sometimes, justice is not watching those who hurt you lose everything. Sometimes, it is watching the person they tried to erase finally learn that he belongs.